To our next guest this afternoon, who fronts a hugely successful podcast about her own stalking ordeal called Stalked, Hannah Mossman Moore.
Woo!
Thank you so much. Now, Hannah, I just want to, before we get into your experience, I just wanted the audience here and those at home to kind of understand the figures regarding stalking. 1 in 5 women and 1 in 12 men are a victim of stalking in their lifetime, and 40% of cases involve online harassment. But only 6.6% of stalking cases reported to police in the year leading up to March 2022 result in a charge, with just 1.4% ending in a conviction. It's just said it in your case hasn't ended in a conviction at all. Before all this happened, were you even aware of just how widespread this was?
I actually had no idea, and I think that's a huge part of the problem, is that we just don't really know. Well, definitely before this happened to me, I really wasn't aware of even what stalking was.
And this involves someone who was your friend.
Yeah, like many cases, I think often it's actually someone you know. You know, we always think of that kind of Hollywood stalker, sort of creepy person in the bushes who you don't know, but actually...
You kind of just associate it with fame, don't you?
You do, yeah. And actually, often it's someone you know. And in my case, we were friends.
It was your friend for quite a few months, wasn't it? Like a really good friend.
Yeah, for like 2 years, we were...
So when did it become a moment for you where you thought, actually, there's something not right here?
I mean, I think for quite a while, I wanted to remove this person from my life.
Was there just a change in his behaviour?
Yeah. There was a change in his behaviour. So it did... I mean, I was young. I was 23. So I think now, when I look back, I'm like, oh, you should have acted
But you
sooner.
met him through work, didn't you?
Met him at London Fashion Week.
Yeah.
So he was sort of a mentor. And looking back, really, I think I was groomed because there were a lot of fancy invites and dinners.
And you were an impressionable young girl at 23, wanting to make your... ambitious, wanting to make your way up the ladder.
I mean, I made a lot of mistakes, but that's OK.
But does it seem like you made mistakes now, looking back on it, but at the time, they seem quite logical, because if someone you like and that you trust gives you tickets to things and invites to dinners, is that the kind of thing that happened? Yeah,
I mean, I was drawn in. I just said yes. I didn't think there was a problem with that. I loved a bit of glamour. I wanted to be in fashion. Yeah. Front row tickets to fashion shows. I just said yes. And, you know, looking back, I wish I hadn't. And I know I made some wrong decisions, but I think that never means that you deserve to be stalked.
Give us an idea, Hannah, of the type of way it became sinister, how he used his... He was very clever online, the type of things he did.
So, I mean, I really clearly in 2017 said, please stop contacting me. And I started to receive a barrage of messages from multiple characters. And
who were all him?
Well, I believe.
Right, you believe
I believe they were all him. But it was just, you know, relentless. Every day, multiple threats, and they would sort of translate from online to offline. So they would say, we are going to do this, and it would happen. So my phone would be disconnected and my family's phones would be disconnected.
Your family's phones?
Yeah, and it was very personal. So, like, on Father's Day, my dad's would be disconnected. And on my birthday, all of my families would be disconnected.
So there was access to private details that enabled him to cancel your family's phones?
Yeah, and also, you know, when we were friends, he sort of harvested a lot of personal information about me, which was then used against me.
And there are lots of claims that are made in the podcast, which is such an incredible listen, including things like he infiltrated WhatsApp groups that you were in, which then destabilised the trust that you had with other people within your friendship circles.
Yeah, so he impersonated me and created WhatsApp groups pretending to be me. And he would post embarrassing things about me, which I think I was 25 at this point, and it was really embarrassing. And I think these things are designed to shame and isolate you. And so I really you know,
Did you feel isolated?
I really did. I really did.
Even though you sound like you've got a great family and friends.
I think I just overheard you talking about high school and, you know, how important it is to fit in. I think all I wanted was to fit in. You know, my mum's a teacher, so I was always moving from school to school. So it was really important for me just to fit in with my peers. And I think this really emphasised that sort of, you know, it just made me different and I couldn't bear it. So
At what point did you go to the police, Hannah?
I went to the police very early on. And, you know, it was new to me, so I just sort of took their lead. I had about 10 police cases in total.
And what happened?
Well, they closed the case every time. And this is word for word. They said there's not enough evidence to prove who's behind it, so we're closing the case.
Even though you had realms of evidence.
But what was the evidence you gave the police?
Oh, I just...
Transcripts of the phone calls and...
Printouts of emails and just endless evidence. But they... when this happened to me, there was a thing called a harassment warning. And another thing they said is we cannot locate the suspect due to his transient international lifestyle. So they couldn't locate him to take his devices and sort of get the evidence they needed to arrest him because of his transient, glamorous lifestyle, which is...
Well, the Metropolitan Police, we did go to them and they sort of said, we recognise the service to the victim received between 2018 to 2020 fell short of what is expected. We're working hard to ensure that all victims get the support they need and that cases are investigated appropriately in every instance. We haven't sort of got long before the end of the programme, I'm afraid, but how have you been able to deal with retelling the story?
So I think the one thing that keeps me going, because it's a really anxiety-inducing thing, and I just remind myself that this isn't about me. It's about 1 in 5 women. And, you know, I'm a white woman with a journalist stepmom. I'm really lucky. So I have to tell this story on behalf of all other women who don't have a voice.
Exactly. And they appreciate that. Well, we also have a right of reply for the man that's accused of stalking Hannah. And he denies the claim about him in their entirety and says they are completely false and without any foundation. But Hannah, thank you so much for coming in to talk to us.
Thank you so much.
Look, if you're worried about anything that we've been talking about, go to itv.com/helplines, which has organisations you can speak to for support.